Welcome back to another video, everybody. Today is Friday, May 17th, and I wanted to make a short little video recapping the day, recapping my trades. I went 2 for 2 for today. It was a very clean day. Trading was very smooth, and I came up with a plan pre-market. I put my plan on Twitter, and I followed that plan perfectly. 2 for 2, clean, very clean trades, very simple if you know the right strategies. This trading shouldn't be very difficult if you know the right ways to do things and the right strategies. Then it could be very simple. As you see, my charts are naked. There's no indicators on my charts. I hardly use indicators. I trade solely on price action, supply and demand. So without further ado, I'll show you guys my plan that I posted on Twitter this morning. If you guys aren't following me, follow at Risotto Day Trades on Twitter. I'll put a link in the description. Every morning, I usually lay out a plan, a couple scenarios that can happen. I draw out some supply and demand zones, and I follow the day's trading based on that plan. And if it doesn't hit my lines, hit my zones, then it's a no trade day for me. Because I trade in mostly imbalances. I don't like trading in balanced markets. Imbalance give you the best direction in a stock. They give you low risk, high reward entries. So I'm looking for basically supply and demand imbalances, and that'll be in the course. I'm going to lay out exactly how you can draw out these zones, these lines, what supply and demand is, and all that good stuff so you can really trade on a naked chart like I do. It's a very effective strategy. There's not really much to it. Just if you know how to do it, it could be very powerful. So in the morning, pre-market, I posted this around 8:30, 8:45 a.m. Eastern. I said possible scenario for the ES future, the S&P 500. I said a strong 4-hour buy zone below. If no bids can hold that up, 28.29 next, followed by 28.07. Meaning that if this demand zone, this imbalanced zone where there's more demand than supply, did not hold, if the bidders cannot hold it up, if there wasn't enough buyers at this level, there's going to be a pullback down to the next demand zone if that zone failed, and I marked that out. But if it does hold, I said if the 4-hour buy zone does hold, there's tons of pre-market supply and a strong 4-hour supply after close yesterday. I'm not a fan of too much overhead supply, especially pre-market, and we'll see how that plays out today. So we could look at the chart. I'll zoom in for today. Here's where my mouse is the 4-hour demand zone. And ever since yesterday, the high yesterday, we came straight down into the close, into pre-market, straight down, right into this 4-hour demand zone. Opened into this 4-hour demand zone very strong, and there was tons of pre-market supply in this area right here, but I deleted because, like I said in the tweet, I'm not a fan of overhead supply in pre-market. So I got rid of that. And then the market stalled at that 2-hour zone that I mentioned in my tweet. I'll show you the 2-hour zone. 2-hour zone formed yesterday right here, right where my cursor is. And we pretty much hit it perfectly almost to the penny today. So that was a good area where I knew long plays probably wouldn't work, and I would look to start shorting if I seen some type of rejection from that area. So now what I did was go into a shorter time frame chart, let's say a 15-minute chart, and I saw we rejected it once, but not only twice, and we started coming down. So this is my second position in the day. My first position was 9:33 in the morning, right basically 3 minutes after the bell. I grabbed SPY calls, and I got for a pretty decent move on the up. I got out these red candles right here. If I did hold and stick to my plan, stick to the zone, I would have made much more money on this move up. But pretty much on the way down, the second entry, right where my cursor is, where it rejected that 2-hour zone, is where it made pretty much the bulk of my money today. So after it rejected this 2-hour zone, I tweeted, touching 2-hour supply from yesterday, which in the first chart you can see was up here, this 2-hour supply zone. Now these are just beginning of supply zones. The lines are beginning, the boxes are the whole zones. I draw the lines so it doesn't confuse a lot of people with millions of boxes on the chart. I just feel like lines are much cleaner and simpler. So touching 2 hour supply from yesterday, still has room up before sellers start taking over. Yet we can move down from here into a 15-minute demand at the 2873 level if 2887 fails. So I said we can move into the 2873 if 2887 fails. Here's 2887, which failed, came down into this 15-minute demand that I put on my Twitter right here. This box right here was a new 15-minute demand zone that formed from this candle right here. 15-minute demand. We came down from the 2 hour right into 15-minute demand, and we started bouncing on a move up. And then this is where things started to get choppy. And then at like 2:45, 3 o'clock ish, they released news that the U.S. trade talks with China have stalled, which is kind of a pointless news article in my opinion. Why release that type of news if you know it's going to affect the market? And it did affect the market. You can see this big red candle down, and we did close into a demand zone that formed right here. We have a strong move up, a rally up, then we start basing, consolidating, and then another rally up. That's formations of supply and demand zones, and vice versa for supply. We drop, we base out, and then we drop again. So there's a couple zones that formed for tomorrow, and if you guys want to see those zones, I'm gonna tweet it out real time in the morning. My thought process when I go into these trades, and I just basically lay it out as clean and simple as possible. So let's go back to my Twitter. And I said, wow, what a sick fade from that 2 hour supply zone. And it bounced right at that fresh 15-minute demand that we formed earlier. It's currently in a small supply from a 15-minute drop zone. But if we see it pull enough buyers, we should see that 30-minute supply and a possible retest of today's highs. Obviously, we didn't get that retest because that news article was released. But if you capitalize on the first two trades like I did in the morning, you would have been set. You could have walked away and you could have been done for the day. And another reason why I knew this was a good trade on ES was because if you look at SPY, which directly follows ES, this is today. I'll go to a 15-minute time frame. Actually, we'll go to a 5-minute, but the 15-minute is where the demand formed. You can see that the same 15-minute demand zone was where VWAP was, and the VWAP is the only indicator I use. It's the volume weighted average price. When it's above it, it's bullish. When it's below it, it's bearish. And usually when price comes down to this and starts bouncing, that's where large institutions, big buyers place their buy orders, and we get a reaction like we did. So not only was it a 15-minute demand that I knew we were coming down into, I saw we were bouncing off this VWAP. And I knew that you could have taken this long trade, which I didn't take because I went 2 for 2 on these first two trades. But this would have been a great entry for a long trade, was right here. And you could have even scalped it and sold your position when it came to the supply. Let's go back to ES now that you've seen that VWAP was there. When it came to this supply zone right here, you could have got out of your position for a pretty decent scalp. You could have definitely made some nice money on a Friday expiration contract. But it really didn't. This started getting choppy when it came to the supply zone. But yeah, so if you guys want to follow me, it's at Rosado Day Trades on Twitter. I post charts with thought process. I'm going to do these recaps more often because trading can be very simple, like I said, if you know how to trade the right way and you know the proper things you need to know. So follow me. Be sure to like and subscribe and give me a comment on what you guys want to see next. Thanks.